Ki-Bong, bewildered by his sudden injury, faced Tarim, the Shield Guild's vice guild master, who expressed disappointment. Noticing Tarim's guild tattoo, Ki-Bong dismissed him, prioritizing the impending threat of the fire dragon. Tarim attacked, causing damage that led Ki-Bong to retaliate, destroying the surroundings but leaving himself kneeling in confusion. The battle ensued, with Ki-Bong continually taking damage. Tarim wielded a light dragon's fang, a potent weapon from a 7-star dungeon, lightweight, sharp, and enchanted with spells, including Reflect. I informed Ki-Bong about the weapon's reflectability, and he realized he was harming himself with his attacks. Despite injuries, Ki-Bong asked Tarim for the weapon, deeming it ideal for his subordinates. Surprised by Ki-Bong's resilience, Tarim witnessed Ki-Bong attributing his endurance to having more blood than others. I, however, pointed out that a significant portion of the damage was self-inflicted, teasingly laughing. Ki-Bong scolded me, calling the information useless. Infuriating Tarim, their clash continued, and Ki-Bong, boasting about his attack strength, decided to test the sword's reflect ability limits. The Light Dragon Fang's reflect spell provoked Ki-Bong to persist in attacking Tarim, who taunted him, confident that the weapon could deflect any physical assaults. Advised by Tarim to give up, Ki-Bong ignored the warning and continued his relentless assault. Eventually, the sword shattered, and Ki-Bong pummeled Tarim into the ground. Kang-hai witnessed Ki-Bong's victory, and the remaining shield members were left in surprise. Regretfully picking up the broken sword, Ki-Bong and Kang-wai discussed their priorities, with Ki-Bong emphasizing the imminent threat of the fire dragon. As the fire dragon's attack on the barrier intensified, the damage reached a critical 97%, putting the entire country in danger. Taking over communication with Seong-ryong, Ki-Bong requested further instructions, knowing the risk to his life. As they approached the fire dragon, Ki-Bong, despite his deteriorating health, remained determined, unwilling to leave due to the danger posed to his mother. As the dragon unleashed a fiery attack, Kang-wai used his shield to block it, impressing Ki-Bong. The dragon then focused on Ki-Bong, launching a series of attacks. Despite catching the dragon's tail and delivering powerful blows, Ki-Bong's health dropped dangerously low. Kang-wai intervened to block an incoming fire attack, showing his dedication. With Ki-Bong's health at 3%, he charged at the dragon, dodging its fiery breath. Noticing the dragon's attack heading towards the barrier, Kang-wai intercepted it, landing hard, but preventing further damage. Ki-Bong praised Kang-wai for his contribution before refocusing on defeating the fire dragon. Despite Ki-Bong's health at 3%, he charged towards the dragon, successfully defeating it and clearing the 8-star dungeon known as the Fire Dragon's Nest. As a reward, Ki-Bong obtained the unique skill First Dragon Slayer, increasing his damage against draconic monsters. I warned Ki-Bong about his critically low health, advising him to seek healing. However, Ki-Bong noticed the dragon's heart, an immense energy source, leading to an unexpected explosion of the fire dragon's body. The barrier suddenly disappeared, revealing the aftermath of the destruction. Seong-ryong called out for Ki-Bong, but instead found Kang-wai emerging from the rubble. When she inquired about Ki-Bong's whereabouts, Kang-wai pointed to where he was leaning against a wall. Approaching Ki-Bong, Seong-ryong commended him for a job well done. The vice guild master of the Shield Guild, Park Tarim, and his entourage were arrested by the Prime Minister for causing the Fire Dragon crisis. All members of the Shield Guild were set to be charged with treason. Ki-Bong asked about their meeting's purpose. Young-juna revealed they were there for a physical examination. Ki-Bong, at the time of enlistment, lacked the proper equipment to record his scores in the military's database. As a result, he remained relatively anonymous without an official rank.
Hold on a minute. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what just transpired. Those Shield Guild idiots have seriously messed things up. They put the entire country, maybe even the world, at risk just because they can't take no for an answer. It's infuriating. And to top it off, they ambush Ki-Bong, and when he hands their vice guild master a well-deserved beating, they just bail, not even bothering to respond to the call for help. What were they thinking? Trying to be the heroes after creating this mess? It's outrageous. Since they're players, the death sentence won't be given to them. However, I found myself captivated by a specific idea you brought up. Is it within the realm of possibility to measure Ki-Bong's strength?
In human terms, it's hard to say. In anime terms, Ki-Bong would be akin to a transcendent Super Saiyan. Yoon clarified the true purpose behind attempting to measure Ki-Bong's power. She revealed that 3 A-class or higher players were required to activate the dungeon, but it wasn't deemed an emergency, limiting the recruitment of many players. She also highlighted the risk of involving a large guild, as it could potentially lead to the leakage of confidential information. Ki-Bong deduced that Yui must be considered trustworthy enough to join him on this mission. Yon affirmed the trustworthiness of the third member, emphasizing their proximity to the Prime Minister, and assured Ki-Bong that all team members could be relied upon. Kangwai expressed his eagerness to join the mission, but Ki-Bong pointed out the limitation of only having 3 people inside at a time, despite the counter in the dungeon barrier. Kangwai persisted in his desire to be the third member. Shortly after, Yui, who was live streaming, and Cheon Yuban, the leader of the Hwarang Guild, arrived. Yui introduced herself to Ki-Bong, and Yuban mentioned he was one of the first people to awaken a decade ago, when dungeons first appeared, fought alongside Prime Minister Gusyeongrion, becoming one of the heroes who helped save the country. Ki-Bong introduced himself to Yui and Yuban, and shook hands with them while Yui documented their progress with her stream. She mentioned that they would be entering a 6-star dungeon named Moth Chamber. Although it was Yui's first time entering a 6-star dungeon, she expressed confidence in being with 2 strong players. Yui also informed her viewers that streaming inside the dungeon is not possible, and ended the stream. They asked if he already knew the details from Ji-yoon. Ki-Bong confirmed that he did. Ki-Bong remembered Ji-yoon's instruction that he must retrieve the Daystone. Ki-Bong and the team prepared to enter the dungeon. Kang-wai was instructed to return to headquarters once inside. Yui set up another camera to document their progress. However, after exploring for a while, Yuban found it strange that they had not encountered any monsters yet. Typically, there would be flying monsters at the beginning of the dungeon. Yui suggested that the absence of monsters could be a good thing, allowing them to focus on subjugating the boss monster. Yui showed no concern about the absence of monsters, pointing out that Ki-Bong had cleared an 8-star dungeon before. They continued exploring, but Ki-Bong noticed it was getting dark quickly. Yui explained that it's due to the Moth Chamber's environment. Yubin suggested camping for the night, as it takes 3 days to clear the dungeon. Yui created a campfire using her magic. After resting, we continued our dungeon exploration, and Ki-Bong asked me to locate the monsters. Eventually, I reported that there were no monsters within 3 kilometers. Ki-Bong told the team that there were no monsters within 3 kilometers and suggested they speed up. Yui agreed to quicken their pace and rushed forward, followed by Yuban. Ki-Bong knew matching their speed would take too long, so he activated his skill and went ahead. Ki-Bong requested that I locate the Daystone, and we headed straight towards the location I pointed out. However, when we arrived, we saw the stone, but 100 monsters suddenly appeared and attacked us as we tried to approach the stone. Yui and Yubin witnessed the explosion and hurriedly made their way to the site. They found Ki-Bong had already defeated the monsters. Yubin was amazed by Ki-Bong's incredible strength, especially as the battle was over in less than 5 minutes. As they approached the Daystone, they discovered that there was a barrier around it. Ki-Bong instructed them to step back and destroyed it with a single punch. They then closed in on the Daystone, and I asked Ki-Bong if he wanted me to absorb it, but he refused. When Ki-Bong touched the stone, we were enveloped in a dark substance.
It appears that the Daystone might have been a trap strategically set for intruders. Alternatively, considering its properties, it could function as a portkey, akin to the concept in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, transporting individuals to an unexpected location or triggering a specific event upon interaction. The mysterious nature of the Daystone raises intriguing possibilities regarding its purpose and the intentions behind its inclusion in the dungeon.
Ki-Bong asked me about our location, and I informed him that they were in a nameless, unranked dungeon. I speculated that they were brought there because of the Daystone, but I was not certain. I suggested that absorbing the Daystone, we might be able to determine why we were brought there, but Ki-Bong refused. Ki-Bong admits that he was not paying attention and got himself into a troublesome situation. He now thinks that his priority is to deal with the current situation and leave the place as soon as possible. Ki-Bong defeats the monsters easily, but was concerned about Yui and Yuban after seeing the monsters were difficult to deal with. He then asked me to find their location, and I showed him a map and their location. I informed Ki-Bong that a battle was occurring and estimated he would reach them in 30 minutes if he took the shortest route through the cave-like dungeon. However, Ki-Bong thought it was too long and decided to smash through the walls. I then informed Ki-Bong that he would arrive at their location in just 1 minute. When Ki-Bong appeared, he immediately destroyed the monster. He was relieved to see Yui and Ubin were safe. They inspected the corpse and discovered a Daystone's energy within the monster's body. However, Ki-Bong asked me to absorb the energy. After absorbing the energy, the monster disintegrated as I informed him that I sensed a dungeon boss and a fragment of filthy energy behind a wall. Ki-Bong smashed the walls and advanced forward. The two followed inside and found the boss monster. They were taken aback to discover that the boss monster was already on the verge of death. I then stated to Ki-Bong that the boss was incapacitated and appeared to be requesting to be killed. Ki-Bong asked me if I could sense the boss monster's emotions and was surprised to learn that I could feel its rage, sorrow, fear, and resignation. He found it odd that the monster would ask for its own death. Yui discovered that a magic circle of restraint was used to hold the boss monster, which could only be activated by an S-rank hunter. Meanwhile, Ubin observed that the monster had been cut open and its organs removed, indicating that it had been used for its useful parts before being left to die. Yui agreed and concluded that they were in an artificial dungeon created by someone. Ubin expressed his shock at the possibility of someone conducting experiments on monsters. Meanwhile, Ki-Bong thought that such a situation was not entirely unexpected, as they were also conducting experiments on the remains of a fire dragon in South Korea. He realized that they needed to leave the dungeon quickly to avoid any danger. Ki-Bong instructed me to absorb the energy from the dying boss monster, causing it to disintegrate and revealing the exit. As they left, Ki-Bong promised to explain everything, but they needed to get out of the dungeon first. Outside, they were met by Ji-yoon, who informed them that they had been inside the dungeon for 2 months, which shocked them. Ki-Bong asked me to confirm, and I verified that it was true. Seong-ryong was relieved to see them safe. Yui and Ubin were told to rest, and that the recording would stay classified, taking Yui's camera to copy the content and delete the original file. After the two left, Ki-Bong showed the Daystone to Seong-ryong, who praised him for his work and wondered about the limits of his strength. Ki-Bong humbly replied, and Seong-ryong expressed her belief that possessing the Daystone would help humanity move closer to the end of the monster phenomenon. Ki-Bong exited the building and saw Kang Hwai and his team waiting for him in a ragged state. I informed Ki-Bong that his team had all been awakened as players, but detected an unknown power that didn't belong to players, similar to Kang Hwai. Ki-Bong was surprised, and the team saluted him. Ki-Bong praised them for their hard work while he was away, and Kang Hwai cheered from being praised by Ki-Bong. The vice captain explained what happened while Ki-Bong was away.
Hold on, let me make sure I understand this correctly. Are you saying that the team Ki-Bong has been leading isn't composed of other players, but regular soldiers? If that's the case, it changes the perspective. It wasn't Ki-Bong's power going to his head, but rather the team's limitations in providing active assistance. Were they there mainly for recording or monitoring his movements? No wonder they faced challenges. Now, about Kang Hwai's energy signature being different from other players, does this imply that his power comes from a distinct source compared to the usual players?
Well, yes and no. Humans, in essence, already have the potential to become players. They just happen to awaken outside the trial area that all other players, even Ki-Bong, had to go through to awaken. You could say they are natural awakened players. Despite not having player status, Ki-Bong never regarded them as deadweights or sacrificial pawns. There were instances where they prioritized leading civilians to safety while Ki-Bong dealt with the monsters. However, with Ki-Bong gone for 2 months and the incident with the Shield Guild, his team wanted to contribute more actively, taking a gamble that Kang Hwai might have a way for them to be of significant help.
He does come across as that kind of individual. So, is it a regular occurrence for dungeons to contain other dungeons, or is it conceivable for humans to construct their own dungeons? If the latter is true, it opens up the possibility of governments establishing secret bases within dungeons, refraining from clearing them and merely preventing their breach into the public sphere. This situation has the potential to escalate into an international incident. However, with the recent success of the latest mission, it's likely that those operating in the shadows won't react favorably to the acquisition of a power source as potent as a Daystone.